We welcome in. You talk about being able to book a wrestling show. Few can do it better than this man right here.
That's facts.
Jason Jones of The Athletic, of course, your co-host on the J Street Vibes podcast. Let's just bring you right into this conversation. Do you think a star player gets traded in the next week or so?
I can't think of who it would be. I mean,
and the star was probably a weird word. I don't know if DeAndre Ayton is a star, but I'm talking like that level of a player.
I think someone like that could get moved. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, that's a guy. That's the guy I think everyone figured once they took the deal back, he was going to get moved eventually. It isn't exactly setting the world on fire right now. But, I mean, they also have had a bunch of injuries, but I forget the rules on Ayton and when he can be traded now, right?
I think it was like January 15th.
Yeah, I think it passed. Yeah, I think the date is passed. Like he can be moved. And now Phoenix, and I wonder how much of this potential lack of movement is because there's so many teams clumped up together. Like you just mentioned, Phoenix. Phoenix is a game back from the 6th spot.
Yeah, no one's really out of it. So it's almost like, do you kind of like, it's like the Lakers made a move, but they made a move, but that wasn't like, a star. Yeah. So I think you might see a bunch of moves like that, kind of, peripheral, like, add a guy to my rotation. Maybe Jay Crowder finally gets to play this season, guys like that. But I mean, with the whole playing situation, the one thing it probably has done that the league likes is that all these teams who in years past would have been like, okay, we're done. There's no point in this. You kind of have to explain that, hey, if you're in 11th, why are you throwing things away? If you're 2 games out of 10th, why are you throwing your hands up? So I think I just mean Ayton, you figure a team like maybe Atlanta moves someone like a John Collins.
They wish.
There's a couple of names out there I think that could get moved around at some point. Like I mean, John Collins' name has been out there for 2 years. He was supposed to be in Sacramento. He supposed to be everywhere. Which probably means at the end he goes somewhere no one is even thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, every year, I think because the names have been relatively quiet, we'll get caught off guard by something.
Do you think
Tyrese Halliburton traded again?
back to the Kings.
Right. Do you think because I talked about this just a second ago, do you think that a lot of teams really, with the uncertainty of these first rounders and Wembanyama and all this other stuff, they think a lot of teams are just looking for, if we really want to like change the landscape of our team, we'll just wait till the summer. Is that kind of how people are looking at it in your eyes?
Probably some of them, yeah, just because with things so clumped up, and it's like maybe we can make a move with what we got. And there's been so many teams that have had so many injuries. You probably got a bunch of teams thinking, you know what? If we get healthy in the next couple of weeks, we'll make our move that way. Maybe you think your move is getting healthy. If you're Phoenix, your move might be we'll get Devin Booker all the way right again. So I think it's a combination of those things. And then the way some of these teams hold on to these draft picks it's almost funny to me sometimes. It's like it's so valuable because you don't know what it is yet. It's like, I've got this pick in 4 years, and I'll dangle it to get, I'm always a believer, get the immediate help. I'm a big believer in, what, a draft pick sounds cool until you actually got to use it. And you mess around and draft the wrong guy. It was like, great, you got this draft pick. And so I just think, it's just it's weird this year. Like, it's like what? I mean, like 8 teams in the West around 500.
Yeah. What do you? Well, in this, a lot of this was sparked by a Mark Stein report about Sacramento. I don't remember what the exact word. Keeping an eye on, monitoring the situation with Matisse Thybulle. And Matisse Thybulle is a player that we've talked a lot about as a potential fit for Sacramento in recent years, but it's something that we can't quite figure out right now. What do you think about Matisse Thybulle as a player and potentially fitting in with the Sacramento Kings?
I like his defense. I think everyone likes his defense. Even back to college, that was kind of his calling card. You got to be pretty good if you're going into the draft. Talking about your defense, so I like that about him. I'm not looking at his numbers. Can he shoot? Is he a shooter yet? But
not traditionally. I don't know what his numbers look like this year, but traditionally, he's almost a 0 on the offensive end.
Yeah, I don't know how he fits. There that could be a guy. Where you said kind of like with the Lakers and the Rui deal, where you're like, you know what, maybe we're not going to keep this guy long term. Let's get off the young guy and get something in return for him, and maybe you can take a flyer on him like that. But just where do you play him?
Right.
Yeah, he's averaging 12 minutes per game this year. He's averaging 12 minutes per game this year. So I don't.
He wouldn't get much more than that in Sacramento.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. If you can take a flyer on him, and you don't have to give up a whole lot. I'd be all for that. Because what he can do, even in spots defensively, could be the difference in a couple of games.
I'm with Damian though. It's got to be like Alex Lynn and some second rounders. Some people have said TD Terence Davis, and Terence Davis I still think plays a role on this team. And I'm not willing to, get rid of what he does on this team for another. I shouldn't say another defensive guy, but my argument was he's like KZ Okpala. So why not just play KZ Okpala? Like why are we trading for Matisse Thybulle? You have a Thybulle-like player right now, and you don't even play him. Just play him.
That's why I said take a flyer. Like if it's low, you don't give up a guy who's been in your rotation at all this year for him. Like that's why I said that Rui Hachimura deal is kind of the blueprint for what teams are looking for around the deadline this year. How can I get off a guy I really don't want to maybe take a flyer on a guy who might have potential down the road? Right. So I'm not. I wouldn't give up TD in that deal. I think TD can give you some defense and he fits what you do offensively. And I think maybe in Sacramento, the one advantage Thybulle would have is that you could probably put 4 shooters around him. So he wouldn't be as exposed maybe. But even still, I'm not giving up major assets for a guy that the other team he's on is not even playing.
Right. Right. And that's a championship contender. They're trying to win a championship and they're like,
we don't need defense.
Don't need them.
Yeah. It's crazy how the league works because remember a couple of years ago he was untouchable. Remember?
Yeah.
You can't put Matisse in a deal for any. That was even back to the when Buddy was looking at Philly type thing. They're not giving you Matisse Thybulle for Buddy Hield. Are you crazy? Now it's like, hey, you got any spare parts for Matisse? This is crazy how this thing changes. Like, hey, we got a couple of basketballs and some clipboards.
Spare parts.
Yeah. Like I said, 2 years ago, no way, no how. But then again, like I said, we see these over the league all the time. You get married to potential. I'll never forget Amari Stoudemire. Oh, you can't get Amari Stoudemire. We got J.J. Hickson. You can't trade J.J. Hickson.
Oh, that'll always be my favorite. LeBron James is adamant. You cannot trade J.J. Hickson.
And then when J.J. got to Sacramento, I was like, you couldn't trade this guy? I was just like, we should have known about his GM skills back then.
Oh, that's facts. That is so accurate. Did you see Jay McDaniels travel last night?
You mean his sea walk, his Cupid shuffle? His cha-cha slide?
Yeah. I got news for you, Jason. You didn't see Jaden McDaniels travel last night, according to the National Basketball Association in the last 2-minute report.
I don't know anything anymore. I don't know what I'm watching in the last 2 minutes of any game anymore. I don't know what a foul is, what's not. I don't know anything. I just read the report and take their word for it.
That's what Damian was saying. There's Mike Brown, who's watched basketball his entire life, Jordy Fernandez, Domantas Sabonis, you, me, Damian. We've all watched the game our entire life. And somehow, we had it wrong. There's no way that was a travel.
Like, what? And there's things that I see live that don't get called, and then they come back a day later. Oh, yeah, actually, it was a foul. And I'm like, I don't know anymore. And I'm starting to join the Jeff Van Gundy train that if we can't use replay to fix things that are blatantly wrong at the end of games, why is it here? Like why I don't understand the use of it anymore sometimes.
I just think they can't figure out how to use it. Like, I don't know, a good idea that you might want to use the replay is if the king starts jumping up and down and collapsing on the floor as if Ricky just got shot in the back. Like, maybe you should go look at the replay then.
Yeah, and I think I even said on the pod, it's been multiple teams that have had blatant errors against them. Like the Kings have had some blatant errors. The Lakers have had some I mean, a bunch of teams have this. I mean, not like little minor things like, oh, they could have tied the game on that type errors. Not like he traveled with a minute 30 to go. Like even the game down in LA when the Kings played the Lakers, I'm like, did Fox foul Kendrick Nunn? I guess not. They didn't call it. A day later, oh, he did. What's the point of telling us that? Because what if he decided no, he didn't? Right. Who's deciding what we get, what information we get? It's just weird to me.
It's bizarre.
And then then you had that bizarre tweet from the NBA officials.
Go ahead. We were gonna talk about that on the pod, but I need to hear it now, man. What that tweet, bro? I ain't never seen nothing like that.
We lose sleep over this. No, you don't. We lose sleep and we feel terrible.
I'm imagining whoever was running that account with they were at the bottom of a bottle of red wine. Some red wine and popcorn, the Olivia Pope diet. And they were gonna send out a heartfelt tweet to the king.
Yeah. Had a little something, put a little something in the air, a
little something.
Yeah, talking. I was like, you can't tweet this. We lose sleep.
Amazing.
I had never seen that like that before.
And then, but you know what's going to happen, right? Then how you fix it? The Lakers about to go on an 8-game win streak, and LeBron's going to shoot 20 free throws a game now.
Yeah, whenever he plays.
Yeah, whenever he plays. Yeah. I don't know when anyone's going to play either. Only 4 or 5 teams don't do load management these days. It's like the Kings and it's like the Kings, the Spurs, the Rockets, and the Magic. I mean, I don't know who's going to play anymore.
The Kings everyone's thought about load management. What? DeMontis, your thumb's broken. Get out there.
Load management for the Kings is Domas only playing 35 minutes.
He's like, hey, Domas, is your thumb going to fall off? Tape it up. Get out there. If anyone deserves a night off, it's him.
And we all exactly.
We ain't even got to report this. Don't even say nothing. Yeah. Take this tape, put it on your thumb, and just play.
I'll say.
Meanwhile, Miami getting fined every other week now for lying about their injuries.
If Brock Purdy had played for the Sacramento Kings, that dude would have played 48 minutes. Brock Purdy would have gotten enough time to tape up his hand and gone out there and play.
They would have got a brace out the back and was like, "Your elbow's still stable right now, Brock. Throw."
Yeah.
I mean,
While we have you, I want to ask you about that a little bit, because there's been discussion about it's gotten out of hand, the whole load management thing. People, kids not being able to see players. Is it a issue that needs to be addressed at this point? Can you address it?
Who addresses it though? I mean, I think part of the problem with the perception is that everyone blames the players. A lot of these aren't player calls. These are, and what some people will tell you that, well, the science tells us that, hey, this guy needs a day off. And the difference is, we see it in baseball because baseball plays so many games. In theory, I'm not opposed to it. Just because, if a guy's had a nagging injury and maybe it's the 3rd game in 4 nights, he probably does need a day off. So like I said, in theory, it doesn't bother me, but I also understand the fact that I've watched a lot of more games in person than most people. So I don't view it the same. I didn't, travel 2,000 miles to see Jimmy Butler, but that kid got a better deal than anyone because instead of just watching Jimmy play, you have to hang out with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, but
it also was at the Warriors game the next day. Okay, wait a minute, sir.
Yeah, and then it's so weird because like whenever the Warriors sit all their guys, they win. It's like,
Yeah.
it's
I saw Richard Jefferson's thing where he was talking about his dad bought him a ticket to go to a game, and if he hadn't gotten to see David Robinson that day, it just would have broke his heart. And I'm not laughing at Richard Jefferson for that, but that's such a he talks about sports science being better and all of these different things being better. It's the same thing that Stan Van Gundy said, and I mean I'll just use Bronny as an example. Bronny ain't even in the league yet, but how much high level basketball has that 17-year-old already played?
Yeah.
Like you want to regulate regulate load management in the pros. Cool. Start these kids playing basketball in high school.
So
the science has told us for years that the problem isn't to the pros. The problem is what we do to these kids at 12, 13, 14. Kids don't play different sports. And I mean, the science has been out there for a long time. Why these guys, you got guys 17, 18 tearing their ACLs.
But it's easier to blame it on the guy who makes $200 million, and you can call him selfish and not caring about the kid who traveled all of these miles to see him. It's easier to do that.
Yeah. But I'll also say this, because I think, Jason, you touched on it, and I think we've talked about it before. I don't know if you can, I know doctors have talked about this, but I think it's the specialization of the sports. Because when you talk about Bronny playing all these games, how many games did we play when we were kids? They weren't regulated, but we was out there playing on cracked asphalt every single day, every day, and like getting in fights. So we were playing too. It's just not a regulated game the way Bronny is. But I do think we all played other stuff, right? Like we were able to put the basketball down for 3 months and play football and play baseball and things of that nature. And I don't know. I've heard doctors say like that matters, but that seems like the true difference is like the specialization of these one sports are wearing these.
Well, I think another thing we don't understand is the underdevelopment of like when you start doing that stuff at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, like your bodies aren't developed, your muscles aren't developed. None of that stuff is developed. And it's what Jason was just talking about. It's why you got these kids who just think about basketball. These kids ain't thinking about foam rolling. They ain't thinking about Theraguns and ice baths and cryotherapy. They ain't thinking, I want to go play ball.
Yeah.
And then
and we just played. Yeah, and we just played. We didn't play and then have someone set us up with a private trainer after practice to put us through another 2 hours of drills. I mean, but yeah, it's easy to say, oh, they're just being selfish. No one gets mad with. How come no one ever yells at Steve Kerr for sitting them? You guys, and Steve said, hey, shorten the season. But no one ever said it becomes, oh, Steph and those guys should want to play for these kids. And it's like, I haven't met one player who has said, you know what? F these kids. I'm not playing tonight.
If it's at least not publicly.
Not publicly, no.
The NBA could have, if they're so worried about kids who travel 3,000 miles to see Jimmy Butler or Steph Curry or whatever, if you're that worried about it, the fix is easy. You're just not willing to do it. You get paid by ABC and TNT and Disney or all your different partners to air 82 games, and you get the revenue from 82 games from season ticket holders. You're just gonna willingly cut it by 10? No, of course you're not. So so while we're quick to point out, the guy that makes $200 million doesn't care about little Jimmy who came to see him, little Jimmy who came to see Big Jimmy. Let's ignore the billion-dollar company,
right,
who's unwilling to cut the season down and say, here's the only way we can come up with to truly eliminate or reduce this issue.
Or maybe we eliminate back-to-backs, eliminate 3 games in 4 nights.
And I'm not
earlier. I don't know, but yeah, I'm sick of everyone blaming the players for this, like it's all their fault.
And look, I'm not here to blame the players at all. If I had blame, it would be more so on the owners than anything. But let's also call a spade a spade. Nobody's willing to give up money.
No, absolutely. Because the players would lose money too.
Because I bet the owners would be like, all right, we can shorten it down to 72. Your contracts are going to go down lower. And the player's like, "No, I'm not doing that."
Well,
And I don't blame them, but
but
nobody's willing to give up a couple of dollars.
and that's where you get into like NFL, like Players Association stuff,
Mm.
where you have guys who make, you know, super $230 million who are like, oh, okay, what's it cut it down to? Versus league minimum guy who plays for, you know, 5 teams in 4 seasons, who's like, no, I'll play 92 games if you want.
17 games, no big, whatever. No way. I'll play 2 games a day.
We out there on the back-to-back.
I'll play 90 games in 70 nights if you want. Just let me get my game check.
Right.
So, yeah, it's one of those things.
But there's
don't know
a
if it
caveat to
changes.
that too, and I think the league knows this. And this is what I talk about with like boosters and NILs and all that stuff. Having legal money on the college books is great. You don't think Rich Oil Booster is sliding into that Texas player wallet and handing them like, you know, some under the table money? Like that stuff still happens. The same thing would happen in the NBA, where if you look at a trip and you go, okay, there's no back-to-backs, but if I don't play this night, I can turn 2 days of rest into 5 days of rest, and I can be ready for that big game on Saturday night against the Bucks on on ABC.
Right.
Like there's always, like, it'll always be there, whether it's a 72 game season or an 82 game season.
Right. Like people forget the big gripe early on wasn't the rest. It was they're resting on nationally televised games. It wasn't they were resting. It was like you set the like, how dare you, Popovich, sit Tim Duncan for the TNT game? You sit him when you guys are playing, you know, someone on a random Wednesday. Don't sit him on our game.
Right.
That's our money. TNT
Which
don't like that.
Which did suck, like as a consumer of the sport. Like I'm looking there and it's Bucks versus Suns. Like I want to see this. And
it's
then,
like watching the NFC Championship the other day.
Exactly. Right. I'm like it's Bucks
did not
versus
tune
Suns.
in for this.
And no Giannis, no Chris Paul, no Devin Booker, no, like, oh, what the hell is this?
The TV announcers digging through the media guide. Well, what do you guys know about? Oh, wow, Serge is on this team. I didn't even, well, I guess not anymore, you know. Like, how much more can we learn about the, you know, Cameron Payne and just digging, just.
Cameron Payne, once famous for his Instagram videos with Russell Westbrook, has made his way over here.
So I guess there's no perfect solution to it, because I agree with you, Dame. If it's 72, they'll find a way to play 65.
It's always going to happen.
So,
I mean, you go to 72, Kawhi and Paul might play in 30 games this season.
right.
Oh my gosh. You think, speaking of Kawhi and Paul, just because I've been reading their names lately, you think De'Aaron, and I think everyone believes Domantas Sabonis is getting into the All-Star game. Do you think Darren Fox does?
Part of me says yes. I'm just kind of, because I mean, you look at who, you know, Ja, Ja.
Ja's in. We've
settled
it to it's likely De'Aaron, Booker, Anthony Edwards, and some people are really trying to get Kawhi or Paul George.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think I don't. I mean, when's the last time Booker played? I don't think Booker gets in.
I don't think he shouldn't. He's played 29 games.
He might get in, and then they, you know, then he can't play. I don't know, but yeah, I don't. I haven't even considered Booker. I'm like, you know, it's kind of like why I don't consider a guy like AD or consider a Kawhi. It's like, well, yeah, your numbers are great when you actually play, but you missed, you know, if we're basing it on this season, you missed. I don't know what the cutoff, you know, the cutoff for the number of games can and should be. I think I generally kind of figure if you qualify to be a league leader, you've played enough games. And kind of talked about before with the Clippers, you know, was it Marcus Morris was their leading scorer because he actually played the most games. So I mean, I mean, when I look at the guards, I'm thinking Shea, Ja, De'Aaron, Ant. I mean, to me,
Dame.
Oh, I forgot about Dame.
See, that's why we kept getting.
Dame had what, 41 last night?
Yeah, man, yeah. So we
But
got
there's one spot left.
Yeah, there's 2 wild card spots that don't have to be guards or forward. They could be whatever.
Just make it all guards. I mean, hell.
Well, then they're going to eliminate Domas and get Booker and Anthony Edwards and.
I mean, as far as the wild card players,
there's no forwards after DeMontis, and there was one and Markkanen, and you could even put AD.
I think Markkanen's making it.
Yeah, you could even put AD in there, and there's no other guards or forwards after that. So,
yeah, I'm like, I don't see any reason why De'Aaron, Shea, John, Ant can't be there. I mean, but every year there's always that one guy you go, he didn't make it. But I think the Kings record, his numbers, he has the whole story with him about being the king of the fourth quarter. To me, all that helps him.
Yeah.
And and it's not like it's a popular. To me, it's not we can't really say it's a market size because the guys who just named, nobody plays in a big market. Well, shoot, in that case, either De'Aaron or Ant play in the biggest market. I mean, yeah. So I mean, I think the Kings get 2 guys, but you never know. It'd be something crazy happening. Somebody gives like Chris Paul like a legacy berth or something weird, or.
Well, that's the CJ McCollum. Yeah. That's
a good point. That's a good point. That's the Hall of Very Good, or the I've been a pretty good player, but never quite an all-star. And now I'm on a better team. So you know what? We'll put you in, because even though Zion hasn't played half the season,
we got
to get a guy who's played from the Pelicans. Okay, go ahead, CJ.
That's it, though. See, the fix for that is easy. Zion's not playing. You could replace him with CJ.
And also, you don't need to do that anymore. They're 9th. If they were top 3,
they're 9th. I can't keep up
right now.
They've lost 8 in a row.
Yeah, like that don't need to happen.
That'll be a fun story. They're losers of 12 straight, but Zion Williamson and CJ McCollum are here. Zion Williamson got cleared an hour ago, and he's out here doing 360 dunks.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be interesting, because I mean, part of it is that you got a guy like Zion, who's as good as he is. He got in on popularity, not because he missed a ton of time. And I'm thinking, I mean, has he played? I mean, it's like every year he misses a ton of time. No, but when he plays, he's something to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. It becomes that balance between merit versus just, I want to see my favorite guys.
Yep.
And if you just want to see your favorite guys, Zion should be there. But if it's where's the balance between the star and the merit? That's always a tricky thing, because if it's based off of star power, I mean, some of the guys we think should be there won't be there. Shoot, Klay Thompson will be there instead. It'd be, but it can get tricky sometimes, because if you assume there's going to be guys who are injured, then it goes to the commissioner. Depending on what mood he's in, does he just go, a guy I think should be there, or does he go in the order of who was next in line? So like I said, if Zion doesn't play, I mean, based on things I've read or whatever and hear, I almost think you might end up with 2 Kings and 2 Lakers if you got enough injuries, because AD's numbers will be like, oh my God, I know he's only played in 33 games, but these numbers are ridiculous. But I still think that shouldn't affect De'Aaron or Domas at all.
Yeah,
I think they should be solid.
I think we had AD in. I can't remember. Did we go AD, Markkanen, and Sabonis?
Those are the 3.
Yeah. There's not a lot of big guys to pick from. You get past Joker, and I mean, there's not a whole lot of bigs.
Well, Nate Duncan and them had Draymond in there.
Oh, you would love that, Casey. You would love Draymond in another All-Star game, huh?
Well, we'd be checking
Draymond
in.
Is a very good ball player.
Jason Jones live from his Domino's tournament with Draymond Green. Jason Jones, The Athletic, the J Street Vibes podcast, which is available wherever you get podcasts. New episode posted right now. Jay, we appreciate you as always. Thank you.
Always. See you next week.